there, workforce. Good morning. Make sure that I don't have too much else running, and we are live. I'm dragging a little bit this morning. My wife and I both kind of overslept, and so we are just getting started. She's scooting out the door to work. Shouldn't be late, but she usually likes to be early. She does a lot for her team, so she likes to get there early, first thing, and prep in the morning. So, we are all set. I wish my miner had more of a transmog, a glamour appearance, but until I hit level cap, I'm not sure I'm too worried about it. What's up, Bandwiz? Good morning. How are you doing? Oh, we need to get started on our daily tasks. So we'll start off and we'll just go through the normal order. We'll see how far we can get on. Ideally, we can pick up at least one level on Dark Knight today. That's hard to do early on. From 30 to 50, it's a slow grind because the most efficient thing you can do is do your daily roulette and just be patient. But in the meantime, we can go ahead and we can push through some dailies on our Red Mage. Red Mage is 64, so it'd be great if Red Mage could hit 70 around the same time as Dark Knight, a little before, a little after, that's fine. Just because then when I'm done with tanks, I can do Summoner Scholar, and I'm actually done with casters the same time I pick up my first healer to 70. So let's go ahead and pick up our stuff here. It says I have experience is still gainable on that, that's awesome. So that means I say mining. It might be better to do Botany today, just now that I'm here in the moment, because this guy is not at level cap, or the miner is not at level cap, but the botanist is. So my Botany could be pushing higher for my retainer if I would just level that first. It's the second half of your workday already. Well then, home stretch. Hopefully that is good news now that you think about it. I obtained 10,000 gil on a Thursday. Awesome. Complete. Boom, 65. That's my Fisher. My Fisher's already 70, so it's just a question of how fast the retainer can catch up. They're very slow to gain experience, so that's why I'm thinking maybe Botany today, just because like you want these guys to level when possible. The Black Mage just hit 64. That's something. Good morning, Brian. How are you doing? You're not in chat with me, are you? Okay. Do we get an official time on podcast? Is podcast at 10? Let's see. So let's go sell these. Looks like Green Thing has the most stuff to sell. I've been doing the most actually lately because I just touched all these prices up yesterday. Kind of helps me to think about like how often I've refreshed prices. I bet this bone chip is worthless. That's more than I thought it was. But the Imp Wing, now that's truly worthless. Alright. Now actually first I need to make sure that none of this is needed for my my timers here.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. What's going on, man?
The weekend.
Rainbow Cotton Bowl. Is that what I just sold? Is that what I just listed?
Oh, clearing out inventory?
About to do my daily stuff. Rainbow Cotton Bowl. Yep. Return that to my inventory. Okay. Let's go ahead and sort this. And then that way everything that I buy appears at the end. And let's go ahead and do this part real quick. Now the mahogany patents, that's been a popular one for my carpenter the last couple days. Alright, mahogany patents. There are none available. No amount of money buys this for me. Okay. Once again, you could always take this as a chance to make your own. I just am looking for, I'm looking for something a little less time intensive on my part. I can be patient. No Mithrite Claymore. Wow, they were trading at 100 grand. I wouldn't have bought that anyway. Cobalt plated Caligay. Cobalt plated none again. Oh, and they're trading cheap too. That's a bummer. Alright. Mithrite Bangle of aiming. There's a lot of different ones, so let's just look straight for aiming. 45,000 is a little rich for my blood. We might not be doing any of this today. Raptor skin. And there are definitely days like this. I did pretty much all of them yesterday, and the day before I think I did literally all of them. All but one, maybe. Raptor skin ring. All sold out. Looks like there's money to be made, though, if I would sit around and do this. I think once I get all my healers done, I'll probably do that. I'll probably start focusing on all my secondary classes like this, my non-battle classes. We'll pay the 20,000. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Patrician gloves. And especially because it's got the star next to it. Anything with the star, if you're on the edge of whether or not you should buy it, that's the day to do it. Budding Rosewood Wand. So, like, 20,000 here is a little pricey. Alchemy's not really my favorite. I'd rather pay maybe 15. Especially because, Alchemy is one of the ones that, like, a lot of potions are really cheap. Like, they're made below cost because people are using them to pick up experience. So, or they're found in dungeons and then people don't have a use for them. So they, I would typically say that Alchemy is one of the ones you should hold off on if you're questioning the price. We've got a 1300 here in Gridania, so that'll have no fee. But I need 3 of them. Okay. That's cheap. Now, raw turquoise. It'd help if I could type. Do you know what time we're doing a podcast, Cam?
I do not know, unfortunately. But I'm ready whenever.
Alright. This is really cheap. And then Rainbow Cotton Bowl, I need 10. And I think I only have 8. So I'm going to have to buy a little bit more. Rainbow Cotton Ball. I have 8. I need a lot more if I want to do the high quality, which means I don't want to do the high quality. So we'll just purchase this. Yeah. Alright. We can dump stuff on a retainer after. We'll go to Gridania first. Trade this stuff in. And then come right back here. Just to be sure I don't accidentally sell something I need. I'd rather pay the teleport fee twice than sell something I need and deal with that mess. I don't even know how I'm doing on inventory space. I'm not doing awful, so I wouldn't have to sell any stuff today. I could just hold off and deal with it tomorrow. Why do today what you can do tomorrow? It's a solid life plan. I could descent this. These are fish that I put in my inventory yesterday for the purpose of descent because they're not worth anything. And I just never got around to descenting it. So I could pick up a little bit of inventory. But I'd like to sell that, the raw amber I harvested yesterday, because we know that's worth something. And it looks like today we're going to be doing Botany anyway. Oh, that'll be a time I have to go back to town. Okay, we'll do that then. Undertake supply and provisioning. Alright. This is the neatest little trick. So, watch that again in case you just didn't see that. Ooh, ding ding ding. Weaver, 51. Okay, sauteed porcini. So you can go scroll through your inventory and like totally search for this. No big deal. But you can also just right click up here and it'll pull it out of thin air. Which is awesome. And then raw turquoise. Give it to me. And then rainbow cotton boa. There we go. I'm already back up to 31,000 Grand Company seals. And like, I've been keeping my, if I do this guy and go to material, I used to keep this at 600. Well, 500, and then I used to keep it at 600. And now I'm keeping it at 700. And like, it's just not keeping the seals at bay. So 700 ventures at 4 a day. I guess I could purchase my way to 800, so I have 200 days worth. I mean, I have almost a year of ventures at that point. You know, months and months and months of ventures. My subscription is not paid out past the point where I would have ventures. Good morning, Anthony. Oh, 44. Moving right along. Yay, the crowd goes wild. Let's see if we have any enlistment papers. Nope. I've been completing challenges, so it was worth a check. Squadron missions. We still have not successfully done one on this page, so... I'm just too low in the stamina, and a lot of that is because I have a level 44 on my team. It costs 2,000, I just don't care about that. Squadron deployed. Alright. Now we're done with, the Shroud, so now we jump to our Thanalan chore of the day, which is Golden Saucer. Good morning, Corey. Hopefully everybody's excited about some podcasts this morning. I don't know that we've nailed down an exact time. Today's kind of informal, so I am, while Brian gets set up and finds out where it works for his time of day, Chemistral's already here, so I am just going to play 14 until... I don't know. Till then, I guess. I mean, I may get up and stretch my legs, but that's about it. Mini Cacpot Broker. It is Thursday, so there's nothing else I want to do here. I don't really have any use for MGP. I mean, I don't have my Fenrir mount. I just don't actually care about that. We got a 9, a 3... Alright, so the reason we picked that one is because that tells us if 987 is right here or if 321's here. So we could do 987 for the second best prize or just go straight for the first best prize, which is definitely my plan. For those of you that don't know how the mini Cacpot works, there's a calculator online that'll make sure you're going for the highest prize. I just go for the top two. I go for this one, the 10,000, and if that's not going to work, I go for the 3,600. So that's 9-8. So we'll go straight for the winner. Oh, and this was the second place. 9-7-8. We could add 3,600. That's so funny. 2021 is still 4 years away. I don't know what you're telling me, Ted. We got a 2 there, so we'll go ahead and deal with that. Alright, so the 8 is here, so there is literally no winner or second place winner possible on this card. So we'll go for the random. 119. We lost money today. That's fine. We spent 600. You spend 600 a day in total. I got 587, so I lost 13 MGP today. Oh well. Some days we win 10,000 more than once, which is just crazy. Alright. So we're ready for Dark Knight. If anybody wants to join me, I'm going to throw up a party finder. 18, 19, 20, 21. You can't count the year you're in. That's 0. There's not all of 2018 left. There's part of 2021. No, because wherever we are in 2018 to 2019 is 1. 2019 to 2020 is 2. 2021 is 3. Because you don't count where you are as 1. Like if I say wait a year, tomorrow doesn't count. Work to Game live on YouTube. If anybody wants to come take part in my awful learning to tank Dark Knight, I'm throwing that up. Password 9999. I am aware I am not good. So now you are too. Okay. And that finishes up in Thanalan, as much as I'd love to listen to this music for the rest of the day. So we're going to go ahead and jump to Ruby Sea. I've only got 4 or 5 days worth of dailies that I need to do. So assuming I don't play at all over the weekend, because sometimes I don't play when I don't stream, I should be finishing this up sometime mid next week for Kojin. And then we'll just have Ananta left. And then it'll be time to go back and work on my Heavensward ones, because I didn't do those either. So we'll just keep working our way backwards. Alright. Red Mage. Da-da-da. More Dark Knight leveling. Yeah, just doing the leveling roulette. Just doing the leveling roulette. So we'll go ahead and pick these up. I don't know if I have to pick them up on my Red Mage. I think you have to pick them up on the class you want to turn them in on. Alright. Go ahead and, as usual, head to our first one, and when we get there, we'll go ahead and queue up. It should be an instant pop, so if anybody is interested in joining me, that'll give you just a little bit longer to hop in, but for the most part, we'll be live and at it. I do need to play some WoW today. I didn't play it all yesterday. I wasn't feeling great after stream yesterday. Had a pretty pounding headache, so I was kind of dealing with that for the rest of the day. And this is... it says it's right here. So let's go ahead and switch to Dark Knight. And queue us for leveling roulette. Quit using Party Finder. And in we go. That should be an instant pop. One or more of my pieces of gear is noticeably low. That makes sense. Something is here. What is this? This is Flotsam and Jetsam. Oh, that's on the surface. So the leveling roulette is not looking like an instant pop today. That's weird. So, Red Mage. Can't gather that from my mount. That would be ridiculous. Now, I could jump to Dark Knight and make sure I don't have any gear that could be replaced. That would help with the fact that, like, I have a ring that's about to break. They just want me to change back into the cowl. I don't have any interest in doing that. I'd prefer the armor. Survivability is going to be a bigger issue at this level range than just going for eye level and wearing some cloth piece. Alright. In we go. So we'll do our quick leveling roulette. As soon as that is done, we'll go back to Red Mage. Ideally, before we finish Kojin, Red Mage is what, 65? And then Ananta can push that. It should be pretty close. I should be able to get just about 70 from doing all that. Maybe somewhere in there I have to do a 50-60 or something on it. I have no stances for the action here because we are level 20. We've got 2 leaves, one of which is watching the cutscene and has never been here before. So let's just be aware of that, I guess. Does light party mean just party of 4? Alright. There you go. They're asking about party size.
Oh, are they used to like the 5-man parties in WoW?
Well, this is their first time to do content, so it said light party, and they said they didn't know what that meant when it said light party on their screen. Hey Brian, can you write that down? Light party versus full party. We keep trying to like constantly look for ways to better like the beginner guides and stuff on the channel, but you take for granted everything that you know, because after years of playing it just feels like second nature. And so like when you get exposed to somebody that's new, that's the perfect time. Like there aren't stupid questions that, like, now that I think about it, it's like, well, I don't know how I know that. Like that is a weird thing, right? There's not another game that has light party, full party. And so like the moment they ask that question, it's like, yeah, I have so much. When's the first trial fight? When's Ifrit?
Is that before you start getting your first dungeons, like around level 15, or something later?
It's definitely later. I mean, we're in Copperbell, and they've never heard of a trial. I could probably find that in Duty Finder. I don't know if Brian's in chat. Let me write that down. All right. Just think that we're... Yeah, I need to make a beginner introduction to dungeons. So just as a little kind of heads up, and I know we're planning on talking about this a lot more with some form of channel news post. But when I jump into WoW on August 13th, I don't plan on playing a lot of Final Fantasy for a couple weeks, right? Just like when the new Final Fantasy expansion comes out next year, I don't plan on doing anything else for a couple weeks. And so I'm trying to actually record a lot of dungeon content right now. I think I already have Copperbell, so I didn't hit record today. And so I'm recording it where it doesn't have all my overlays and all that. And then I'm making dungeon guides for old content, which is not something that I think the majority of our current user base needs, because most of you guys are current players. But a lot of times how people like come to find Work to Game is that they're new to the game, or they're interested in playing the game. And so we're talking about possibly having dungeon guides for all the dungeons in the game, just in case anybody's still lost. And so, like, an introduction to that series could very easily be a, like, what is level sync, what is dungeons, what is all the terminology around dungeons, things like light party, full party, because there isn't any really way to know that if you come from another game, or, like, some of the players, this is their first MMO. So there's just no context. You talk about things like tank and healer and DPS, like, what does any of that mean? And then level sync is absolutely a great point, because, you know, games are more and more doing level sync as a way of causing existing player base to be able to interact with past player base. Hey, there we go, 32. And it's really important to a game, and every game does it a little differently, even though it's largely the same concept. WoW just got world sync in 7.3. You know, when was level sync involved in... Level sync... Was level sync in 1.0? It was definitely in 2.0. So, I mean, level sync came to Final Fantasy a lot earlier in the series' history, and even earlier from a calendar perspective, because when you're comparing WoW and Final Fantasy, you have to keep in mind that, you know, they're finishing up the 7.0 series while we're in the mid 4.0 series, so since they don't exist in a vacuum, I expect them to have advancements long before their 7.0, just because of the point in like real life time that we're in and what's available to them. What's up, Aiden? Oh, I've been live 25 minutes. You didn't miss long. I struggled to get rolling this morning. I got you. Today's going to be a little different than a typical day because we have a podcast today. So I'm going to be on Final Fantasy until we're ready to prep for podcast. And then I'll go stretch and everything like that. And then we'll be back and live. I'm going to grab this fire sand. I don't think they know how to do this dungeon, so I'm just going to assume that I need to carry everything at every point. Which should mean that this next fight is exciting. The fight with like the little, you gotta blow the dudes up. I don't know if we'll get any Fortnite today in Aiden. Just because of the podcast. Podcast makes it a little hard. I don't know if I'll get a second game in at all today. I'd like to play some WoW since I didn't get to play yesterday, but we'll just have to see. The podcast may dominate the day. Do we only have 6 ounces? There we go. Fire sand set. Alright. These die so fast. Oh nice, your Xbox is working. It's pretty cool that everybody could just kind of join in on whatever platform they're on. Is this on a shorter cooldown than Tomahawk? I feel like my... Interesting. I feel like Unmend is on a shorter cooldown. It could just be in my head. It could just be in my head. You forgot to friend me? That's okay. There's future days. My Xbox isn't going anywhere. I wonder what the cap is on the number of Xbox Live friends you can have. Yeah, Unmend definitely feels like it's faster, but it could just be in my head.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Ken.
What's going on, Sparta?
Hey, Sparta.
I'm leveling Dark Knight. Ideally, we pick up a level a day, but we'll just have to see. Because I'm only going to be doing my leveling roulette.
Yeah, I would say... if you have time, if you're not doing leveling, just doing your leveling roulette, you're not doing anything else, probably possibly do some House of the Dead to speed it up a little bit. Because it will speed it up.
Meh. I'm gonna have to do so much Palace with my DPS, though. Yeah, it will speed it up. Now that I've only been playing 2 hours a day on both games, the leveling roulette takes up a substantial piece of that. It's given me a good excuse to level my gatherers, which is nice. I've been picking up a little bit of gathering every day. I thought I'd be doing miner today, but the fact that my my retainer is capped on my botanist level, but not on my mining level, tells me I should probably do botanist today. Your friend has 63? That's a lot. I wonder what the cap is. I mean, they're bound to have one, right? They're not just going to let you have 7 billion.
I think PlayStation's is around like 400. I mean, it's like you would have to play and have all your real life friends and everyone you played with.
Yeah.
Friended. Yeah. It's ridiculous how big it is.
Come on, guys. Guys, I think we can just take the lift. We can just take the lift. It doesn't have to die.
Well, I would say with like if you're leveling for leveling purposes, killing mobs is actually better, especially if you're doing a low level dungeon. You've got all like the accessories and all that equipped.
This group is like brand new to 14, so like we're not exactly setting a blistering pace.
Ah, gotcha.
I feel like the blasting sand is down here, right? That seems right. There we go. We got the fire sand. Grab this treasure coffer. Okay. We get some fire sand. 6 ounces. I think we need more.
Someone actually did an article, Chris. PlayStation actually, Sony actually outranked Xbox in this single regard. This single regard. You can have 1,000 friends on Xbox One.
Okay.
You can have 2,000 on PS4.
That is so many.
I mean, that's one single regard. I will give PlayStation.
That is so many. I don't know if I'll get an Fortnite invade. We'll just have to see. I don't think... Can you stun that? Yeah, you can stun self-destruct. I was like, if I can't stun it, I'm gonna die.
It just tells you, they actually did a thing. This was
That's
back
funny.
in 2013. But it's kind of still...
1,000 and 2,000 is a lot.
It used to only be 100. Last generation, it was only 100.
I mean, 100 is a number I could see you hitting. Because I bet I have 20 or 40 or something like that. Just from years of being on the platform, every one of, like, my friends' friends and stuff like that you play with, you go ahead and you just add them because it makes it easier to, like, I guess, get that, it makes it easier to, like, just pick them back up for group and stuff. You know, so if you guys are going to play together for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, you just go ahead and add them. What's going on, Moral? Dark Knight's been good. Dark Knight's been good.
And you were asking about, like, if Tomahawk got a shorter cooldown than, was it Unmin?
Don't kill it. This is going to be a long fight if they're going to kill the blasting caps.
Did you type to them, don't kill it?
Guys, you have to heal me. They let me get so low. I was like, are you being serious? Oh, Aiden, don't worry about donating or anything. It's fun to play Fortnite with you. But that's not going to change whether or not I play Fortnite today.
So yeah, Chris, I just checked my my level 70. Tomahawk actually has a sort of cooldown.
Now, is that based on haste? Is there spell haste that's speeding that up?
No, that's based purely on my stats.
Like, if you take all your gear off, it doesn't change?
Oh yeah, it'll change, but I have the same like high level for both my Dark Knight and my Warrior.
Oh, okay.
So my Dark Knight is 250 for a min.
That's
Tomahawk
interesting.
233. Now it might be based off of like I might have more skill speed on my Warrior. I'll have to check.
Yeah.
But that's the main thing that changes that is skill speed. Skill speed changes your cooldowns for all your tanks, your melee DPS, and cards,
Morning.
and spell speed for all your mages.
Alright, here we go. Now we can DPS. This was a really slow pull. Actually, I think we only let one blasting cap go. I think we, it's just a slow fight. There's no way to speed it up. Okay.
And yes, my warrior's skill speed is higher, so that would affect it. So it's the same cooldown most likely. Let me check by moving on my gear.
Do I already have that gear? Yeah, it's unique. Alright, cool. Done. There is a podcast today. There is a podcast today. You tried to level armor last night? Wasn't happening at all. The fastest way to level them is leaves if you're trying to actively level, as far as like the shortest amount of like calendar days and like play time. The fastest way to level crafters and gatherers, as far as like total play time ignoring calendar days, like you're willing to let it take years if it needs to, is to do your grand company provisioning. Because it takes no time at all. You go to the market board, you buy the item, you turn in the item, you get a ridiculous amount of experience. But you can only do it once a day.
Get the high quality one too.
So the high qualities double the experience, so you can decide if you want high quality based on if you think it's an efficient use of the money. Because, like, if the normal quality is 5,000 and the high quality is 40,000, and you're paying 8 times the price to get double the experience. And the star next to it, some of them have stars next to him for the day. The star means it's going to be doubled anyway, and so for those I'd be willing to pay a little more for the high quality because you're talking about getting quadruple experience. This guy's going to let me die.
Yeah, leaves, and also when you hit level 50, I'm going to hate myself for leading you to this removal. And when you hit 60, of course, Namakui.
Yeah, as soon as you have crafting beast tribes available, they're pretty fantastic.
And the Exali for under.
Uh-huh.
The Exali...
I've been doing just my provisioning and stuff, and I'm doing my provisioning on pretty much all of them every day. All of them except Fisher, because it's at 70. And I'm picking up at least 1 level a day. Some days I'm picking up 5 or 6 levels. Like, I have 5 or 6 different things gaining a level. So, it's going up fast.
Yeah,
if I stun this, if I pre-stun it, can it self-destruct?
If it's gonna have, if you just stunned it, it's gonna have stun immunity for about 3 seconds.
I cast stun when I thought it would die before the stun wore off to just keep it from popping up the stun in the first place. But yeah.
So yeah, I think the Unmend and
Morning, Mike.
Tomahawk are the same cooldown, but just your skill speed being different affects it.
They're both on the G to D.
Oh, yeah.
I think Unmend is fast rotation time.
Yeah, if you think your unmin factor, it's probably because of a higher skill speed than what you currently have.
Unmen is actually scaled up. Dark Knights have none.
Dark Knights have none. What? You're kind of breaking up, man.
Dark Knight at all speed. Unmen is class as a spell.
Oh, is it in the class of the spell?
Yep.
That's good to know. So yeah, Dark Knights, it would be based off spell speed, which basically would be the same thing. It's all about that spell speed / skill speed. When you're looking at anything dealing with global cooldowns, you want as high as possible, because the more global cooldowns you can put off, the more damage you can put out.
That's actually not entirely true.
Depending on class.
Yes, but also alignment with raid buffs if you're going for the top of the tub. Which is actually why a lot of raiders actually hate getting arrow. Unless they're a black mage.
Yep, that's the main thing I'm thinking about. I had a guy try to tell me, and technically it's true that we don't get poisons anymore when it comes to like raiding.
Are they still attacking the ads?
Yeah, they're still attacking the ads. Have to be.
This is why I want to make dungeon guides to all this stuff. Because like, there's no way to know. It just. Did I level up again?
You probably did.
33. Oh, 2 levels. Alright. Here's the new guy. Probably the Thaumaturge, huh? Commendation, commendation! Oh, that was so slow. Alright. Well, that was awesome. 33. So do I get new gear for that? Yes! I get a whole bunch of new gear. Pushing my eye level from 29 to 31 and putting me in a pig costume. There it is. I knew at some point... I knew at some point the glamour turned in. Oh, I gotta be a red mage to pick up the, You can't actually take this out of the water unless you're a red mage. Can't happen. Nobody else can empty this coffer that's floating.
You picked it up as a red mage? You picked up the quest as a red mage?
Yeah, it's just funny that, like, this drifting wreckage here. Like, I don't know how they justify that lore-wise. Like, for RP servers. It's like, well, I would pick it up, but, like, it's just so heavy that only my red mage can lift it out of the water. If I'm like a warrior, I'm just not strong enough.
Yeah, you'll find that you're leveling when you're leveling low levels, and you got all like the earring and all that good jazz. You get a lot of experience.
That was crazy.
I remember when
Red Mage is only 64, so I don't know that Red Mage will hit 70 off of just dailies before I cap on Ananta and Kojin. There we go. I gotta have my Chocobo out. I don't know that there's a fight here, but I just want to have my Chocobo out regardless.
Have you done your daily beats, or not daily beats, daily hunts for that area as well?
No, I haven't been doing hunts. Hunts are too slow. They're just not an efficient use of time. Like, they don't give you the amount of loot that daily quests do, and they don't, I don't know. They're fine. There's so many alternate forms of progression in this game. Like if you just want variety's sake, but it doesn't mean it's efficient. Oh, I was mounted. I could have just flown off. Like,
if you're trying for to upgrade Tombstone gear, hunts are actually efficient.
okay.
You can buy the upgrade for Centino Seals.
Oh,
You can
that's
also,
nice.
there are also a few other things. You can buy Aetherite tickets, so you can have free teleport. You can buy a ton of different little things by just doing your daily hunts.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Moral, that'll be it for today.
If you're doing it with the DPS, because I mean, you're going to be sitting in those queues forever if you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah, that'll be the end of my Duty Finder stuff for today, just because all I'm leveling is Dark Knight right now, and it's just... That's the problem with being down in the 30s, is you just have so little available in Duty Finder.
Yeah, that's one reason why, even on my character, that's one reason why I decided to just do Palace to 50 on all my characters. Get through Palace to 50, that way you get all those roulettes.
That is so much Palace.
Oh, not really with all these new characters, because each run of 51 to 60 gives me a level. Because of all the bonuses.
Still.
Yeah, but typically Palace runs don't take that long if you're just speed running them, and it only takes, it's like a 5-minute run, 5 to 10 minute runs so a 5 to 10 minutes per level. And only things I'm leveling are Astro and Dark Knight, so I'm only doing 20 runs.
Is this way down there? I don't know that I've done this quest recently. I hope it's down here. Yeah, there it is. I was like, otherwise I'm wasting a ton of time. Lunar orbs, 1 of 3. Perfect. And mount up to the lovely mana cutter, which actually feels really natural underwater. Alright, and there's those dailies for the day. Probably faster to just teleport. Perfect. Is Brian back? I know he was setting up his computer and moving stuff around, so I know he may or may not be in chat.
I don't think I've heard him join chat yet.
Okay. How did the Amber sell? I don't know that it's sold. I don't think I listed it yesterday. I think I've still got it on me. I'm actually headed back to Mist now, and I'm going to list all that stuff. I was going to list it this morning, but I was doing my provisioning stuff, and some of it was needed. Some of the supplies, and I didn't want to accidentally sell something I needed to turn in, so I did all my turn-ins first. So I'll list it today, and then hopefully it'll sell. Thursday and Friday is a good day to list because it's listed for it's fresh listed for the weekend. What's going on, Nick? So that should drop the odds that I get undercut and somebody outsells me for the weekend. I always have better luck selling things over the weekend. Guess it's just a lot more people online.
True.
All right, let's go sell things on Amazonian Primal.
Thanks for reminding me about that. I need to go check my retainer on my main, because I was selling a ton of stuff.
What did I pay? I paid $375 for this. So if I can sell this for 750, I am killing it. I just want to make sure I wasn't losing money. I was like, I can hold on to it. This needs to be worth more. I didn't check the... Yeah, that's right. Okay. Raw amber. This is what we got yesterday. So 900 for the high quality. Let's do 990. And then just an even 900. Check the history and see if that price is justified. Looks justified. Yep. So if that sells, then I made, I don't know, whatever that is yesterday. 71,000, 72,000. So 70 grand, and that was a half hour. So 140,000 an hour. I mean, if you want to be wealthy in this game, anything 100,000 gil an hour is going to add up. And there's probably better ways to make money when you talk about things like when you start to factor in, I'm losing my train of thought today. When you start to factor in things like crafting and stuff like that, where you can take somebody else's hard-earned stuff and combine it for a profit in 10 seconds per craft or even a minute per craft. There we go. These cotton bowls were stuff I just bought today. I paid $225, so if I could sell it for like at least $270, that would kind of cover my auction fee and everything like that. I don't know if that's worth
yeah,
it. Just...
Zarkov lumber is always going to be worth it. Oh, and but it's easy to gather, expensive on the market board.
So this guy here, so what this guy did is last night at 6:31 p.m. he bought everything from vendor price all the way up to 300. And I bet if you total that up, it totals up to like roughly 30. So 8, 9, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So that's what I thought. And then he had 3 on him and listed it for 33 at 470. So that tells me that this guy's willing to do that. So the clever thing you can do is you can go to the market board here, and we can force his hand. Because we know how much he paid. So we know that he can't let stuff go, because the guy selling it for 470, we know that he bought some of this stuff for the 100 to 300 range. So if I come in at like 250, 200, something like that, it should put him in a position where he's pot committed, and it's like playing the guy in poker. If somebody else doesn't buy it, he'll have to buy it to protect his price. So we'll go ahead and put up for sale and list it at 200. And so I'll get 1,800 there, and a substantial portion of that was stuff I bought for, like, if I adjust the price, I paid 20, so I'm making 180 for each of the 7 plus the ones I got from my retainer. Which usually when I talk about farming up your own mats, like, farming up your own mats has a time involved, so even though it didn't cost you anything, it has a time. Stuff on the retainer just costs you Grand Company seals, and Grand Company seals are a joke. So it's not actually, the stuff you get back from like retainer ventures, that is actually legitimately free items created with no real value in them. Yeah, like everything. Grand Company seals are so easy to get. All you have to do is roll breed on everything.
You don't even got to do that. You're a tank right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Leveling roulette.
Well, I'm just saying, if you roll greed
up-
on everything, you get so many items that you should be capped on them.
That's true as well. But I mean, like, just go on a leveling roulette, and you're gonna get 2,000 Grand Company seals. For, I mean, yeah, like the last run you did, it took you a while, but typically you get things like a Freak or Titan or Garuda or one of those other, you know, really easy to do leveling dungeons, and it's like, okay, cool, thanks. 20 minutes of work and I just made 2,000 Grand Company seals.
Yeah.
What's hilarious is that is actually very little.
I don't even know what you do with Grand Company seals after a while.
If you're trying to build like an airship or a submarine, that costs like 200,000.
Yeah,
at the very least.
200,000 Grand Company seals.
It costs what?
It costs like 200,000 Grand Company seals.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Why should you be spending it on that? I'm going to be at cap again soon. I spend mine on ventures, Anthony. I keep ventures around, but the problem is, like, I used to keep 500 ventures around, and then one day I decided to increase it to 600, and then one day I decided to increase it to 700. And, like, if I go to 800, I have 4 guys, and I use 8 tokens a day. So, you know, I'd have 100 days saved. 100 days that I don't make a single Grand Company seal. Like, and I just log in every day and roll those guys. I mean, that's ridiculous. You can hold 80,000 seals currently at cap, so, like, I assume you're gonna have to spend it in chunks. I've got like 30,000 or something at the moment. Alright, so that's all that stuff relisted. Now I need to... I think I'm actually gonna do Botany today.
Chris.
Yeah.
Easy, like you were saying, Grand Company seals are really easy to get. Go buy a bunch of Coke. It's selling on the market for 800 gil a piece. So yeah, it's not a lot of gil, but when you're selling them, and like you need like 300 Coke to complete an airship.
Porcini is 500. Let's see if anything beats Porcini. That's not bad. 500 is not bad per item. Dark. It would help if I could spell. Dark chestnut. Dark chestnut log. 1,300. Great. Mistletoe. We want Dravanian mistletoe. 4,300. And back to dark chestnut. So far we're at Dravanian mistletoe. And we want the branch now. Which is trash. And let's... 4,300 is the number to beat. Chives. Nope. And... magma beats. Nope.
Something else you can buy is animal fat. It's selling for 1,500.
Coerthan tea leaves. 990, not bad, but not great. And then Highland wheat is sometimes one that gets a little out of hand. Sometimes it's priced reasonably, sometimes it's not. Yeah, it's just all over the map. Like, see, it'll spike. All right, so that was definitely Dravanian mistletoe. And before I go farm a bunch of that, the one thing you want to check, not mistletoe. The one thing you want to check before you go farm a whole bunch of something is how often does it move. Because that's great if it has value, but if nobody's buying it. And 725, 724, 723, so yes, it's regularly selling, sometimes in large quantities. So,
Dravanian mistletoe?
Yep.
I would possibly... How much are they selling for?
4,300.
4,300?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that would be good. Just be careful, because Dravanian mistletoe, I believe you can buy from a vendor.
Oh, I doubt that. You can buy the items with Gil? Oh, but that's 5 million Gil. That's a lot. Okay. Alright.
Yep, you can buy it at a vendor.
For how much?
1,800.
But it's selling for 4,300?
Yeah. A lot of people don't know about that vendor.
Okay. Ooh. What? So it's only really got a value of 1,800.
Well, it's 1,893. Because Dravanian Mistletoe is also the reason why I would be worried about it is because it's an unspoiled node. If I remember
Oh.
correctly. Yep, it is. So you can only farm it once per, like, half hour. So you would be having to go find somewhere else while you're waiting for it to be spawned.
Is there a way to tell that from the gathering log to make sure I'm not intentionally picking things that are...
Yes,
You just have to know.
There is.
The timer, you have to use like a third party.
Well, yeah, if you're wanting like the timers, you have to use something like Garland Bells or other things. But I think there is a way to tell. Like, 1 second. If you go to your gathering log and you look at the item, so like Dravani and Mistletoe, you go look at it, it'll tell you, oh, it's in this area, but then it'll have question mark, question mark, question mark.
Oh, okay. Alright, so we don't want any of those. Alright, so let's go do the dark chestnut logs then. I think those were best. 1,300. And the branches are at dirt cheap. So let's go gather the logs.
And yeah, Immortal, there's nothing like in-game, but you can use certain websites, like it's a third-party thing, but it'll also, like the one thing I was doing was, I used
Squad? So I should buy some of that Dravanian Mistletoe.
Yeah, and also the main reason why a lot of people they added that because it used to not be there and was only in the unspoiled node, but people got really pissed because it's used for a mandatory crafting item, like it's constantly used, called holy oil or holy water, and it's used like 90% of the time, but you can only gather at maximum is 36 per half hour. So, yeah, they added the vendor before they started, before the riots started happening.
I don't see a problem with limiting a resource like that. Keeps it valuable.
It makes grinding it a pain, especially if people need it to level and stuff.
And that's the main reason why.
Gives us a sense of achievement. I mean, JRPGs are known for having grinds like that. Alright.
Well,
What's
this
going on,
sort of thing
Captain?
is more akin to the gold farming in WoW, where people just camp a spawn.
I don't see
Yeah,
a
but the
problem
thing
with
with
it.
the spoiled nodes is they're not limited. Like it was a good idea that they did, where like your nodes are your nodes. They're no one else's nodes.
I don't see a problem with it. I mean, and in WoW they fixed that by saying each node can be harvested up to 10 times if it's within like the 10 seconds that it spawns. So if somebody grabs it right in front of you, you can still go get it. So.
Oh yeah, but what I'm saying is like the whole thing with 14s is like you can't have someone sitting farming a spot and it's just you have to go and level up the gatherer to be able to gather it yourself.
Right.
It doesn't limit you. So, but at the same time, a lot of people, they didn't want to level gathering. But the main thing was people, like, you saying 40,000, or it was selling for like 4,000, the Dravani mistletoe? It was like 4,000, probably around?
Yeah.
It was selling for 50,000.
That's awesome.
When Heaven first started.
That's awesome. That pays for the people's time.
What, 2 seconds?
No, you said you were limited on the amount per 30 minutes. They're camping it. It's the whole 30 minutes. It's not the...
Oh,
it's
no,
the entire time they sat there checking it.
They weren't checking it, though. They were bots. They were actually bots.
Bot activity is easy enough to detect. Games like this are pretty good about shutting bots down.
You'd be surprised.
Did I farm Ixion? I waited for Ixion once, and then never did it again. So I have like 1 horn or 2 horns or whatever you get per drop. And that's it. So I do not have my Ixion mount. I think it's awesome for people that wanted to sit there and camp that. And they reduced the number of horns later, so I could go back and do it now.
They didn't reduce the number of horns, they increased the number that dropped.
Oh, okay.
You only have to farm them twice now. It used to be you had to farm them 6 times.
Yeah.
And get gold all 6 times.
Yeah, the biggest issue is that people couldn't get into the locks to complete their main story.
It'll fix itself over time, because you can only have them out once. So eventually, that's like saying you shouldn't sell iPhones because there's a line. The line fixes itself because as soon as those people buy theirs, they don't get back in line. So just give it time. It's the same reason we talk about when trials are too hard. Well, they should nerf it. They don't need to nerf it because eye level scales in this game, and so like as eye level goes up, it will get easier. As people learn the fight, it will get easier. It will take care of itself. Just be patient. If you don't want to do it,
yeah, but the problem
then don't do
here
it.
is that since people couldn't get into the locks, it was actually blocking mandatory content.
Yep, it was literally, and also it's not just the mount. He gives there. You can buy like 4 things with the horns. Just like with Odin, there's like 4 things with Odin.
Let's face it, everyone's just in it for the mount.
I mean,
like
there's a mount like that.
The minion.
There's a mount like that in WoW called the Time Lost Proto Drake. And that is so funny to me because people are like, oh, what's the name mean? It's like, it means that they're trolling you. Like the amount of time lost farming it.
Well, the main thing is, and it comes down to the whole saying, joining Hunt Link Shells helps with the farming, but also, it's just like with Odin or Behemoth or any of the, I'll call them legendary fates. They respawn every 78 hours. So once it's spawned, the timer starts. 78 hours from that point will be when it spawns again. So you just have to understand. It's a waiting game.
Ding, 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 ding. Oh, I should have my, I should have a scroll on. Eat your scroll. Eat some fresh food to refresh my food buff.
So what level of botanist are you now?
52.
Nice. Yeah.
You got the Time Lost Pro Drake? The one like out in the world? I've seen its corpse 2 or 3 times. I've never gotten it. That's so funny. Yeah, I hear now that you can like jump shards and stuff that they'll toss up a party finder and everybody will kind of hit it together. Touche. Because there's a way to, like, reset the mob now where you can, like, get its health to... I don't know, there's some spoof where people can cause it to, like, jump shards. And so you can have... I hear now you can have, like, 10 to 20 people tag it without it dying. It, like, evasion bugs, but you still get credit or something. I don't know. People always find a way. No, no, no. I'm talking about the time lost proto-drake out in the world. Out in the, like, little Viking area. That spawns randomly between, like, 36 and 72 hours. It runs one of, like, 5 paths, and all of those paths end in NPCs that shoot it down and kill it. So it's only up for, like, 3 minutes. Yeah. And it has a 100% chance to drop itself as a mount.
As long as you tag it?
As long as you tag it. And now that there's personal loot in the game, everybody... It used to just be there was only one mount for the whole group, but now with personal loot, there's one mount for everybody that gets a tag. So people have found a way to get multiple tags. I used to just log out and log in there for all of Lich King, Cataclysm, and part of Pandaria. I'd log out and log in there every day. I just always... That's where I went. I always went there last thing in the day. And then while I was, like, studying and stuff, I'd have Pandora on and I'd have it just up. And I had an add-on that if it spawned, I sat between, like, a few of the roots. If it spawns, it sets off like an alarm bell. Because it's an add-on that keeps doing, like, /target time lost, /target time lost. And so if it ever detects it, it goes da-da-da-da. And then you just check on it every time you check on your Pandora to keep yourself from AFK logging. And so, like, I farmed it for hours and hours while doing homework, and I found I got to it for the corpse twice. I never got there in time for attack. But I wasn't willing to, like, legitimately stare at the screen or anything. Just increase the playtime on my hunter. This is decently valuable. I just think it defeats the purpose of unspoiled nodes if you're like, well, you can wait 30 minutes and get just one of this, or you can buy it infinitely from a vendor. Like, when you create unspoiled nodes, you are intentionally saying we are going to limit the amount of this that can be released. It's like making something cost daily tokens from the Namatsu. Like, you're limiting the rate at which it can enter the server, and if it can be sold on the market and it's used in large quantity by people that want to use it for crafting or whatever, then you're saying, you know, and it's not the only, and you could say, well, it's used for crafters to gain experience. Well, it's not the only item in that level range. They can level doing other stuff.
Well, also, with the whole thing is, they didn't add the vendor for, I think it was like 6 months. I mean, it was, you had to go and farm the node. It was just one of those catch-up mechanic things they added, basically.
What's going on, Ken? Yeah, we leveled Dark Knight. I leveled Dark Knight twice today, and now I am leveling Botanist. I was gonna level Miner, but actually my my retainer for my Botanist is locked behind the fact that my Botanist wasn't higher level, and my Miner is not. So I'm gonna do Botany today, even though it's the higher of the two. Oh, I didn't even think to check if I got new gear for that. I did! I got new gear. Pushed my eye level up to 55. Oh, 1 to 16 is the worst, Ken. Honestly, the whole 1 to 30 grind is long. I don't know how many classes I have left to do that on. I'm not nearly as leveled out as Brian, but I've got... And the only reason I have the 15 as I do is because I think for cross-class skills back in the day. So I've got a 12 and a 13, 2 15s, and everything else is 30 or above. So, you can tell how I feel about melee DPS. So I need to push my archer up to being a bard, and then I'm pretty much done until I want to tackle melee DPS. I've never gotten a lot of joy out of melee DPS. Hunts and Palace of the Dead. Oof. You could do leaves, I guess. There's achievements tied to leaves. You gotta do them eventually, right? If you want all the achievements.
I would use your leads for gathering and crafting. Just don't even touch them.
People always say that, use your leaves for gathering and crafting, but I bet 99% of accounts are at 100 leaves right now. So like it's not like that's like when your parents tell you when you're a kid that you can't have cookies right now because you'll spoil your appetite. Like they say it like, well, if you have cookies, no, there's reasons you shouldn't have cookies, but it's not that you're going to spoil your appetite. Because the thing about your appetite is it's going to come back. Like, it's not the last appetite you're ever going to have. It's the same with leaves. Like, unless you're going to actively level crafting and gathering this week, use your battle leaves. Like, they'll be back before you ever get to leveling. Because if you're still leveling battle classes, most people are not touching their crafters and gatherers. They're not touching their crafters and gatherers until they're done leveling battle classes. And that doesn't mean they level all their battle classes. It means they level all the ones they want. Some people only want one battle class. But usually people tackle those first. Oh, I'll spend 100 in a day. And then I'll wait and wait and wait. And then I'll forget about it. And then I'll go back to using 100 in a day. There was at one point in history where I was trying to use them every day. And I was trying to use them up every time. But it's a lot of work. You gotta want it. I could be doing it right now with Botany. It levels super fast, but I don't make all this money.
Yeah, that's the main thing with leads. The dependence of leads over like just what you're doing. You make more money how you do it. Leads are faster.
This is not faster, by any means. But not only do you make money, but there's an achievement for, let me see if I can find it. So if I go to character achievements, gathering, botanist.
For gathering one of every item, or is it multiple?
For gathering 5,000 times from 51 to 60.
Yeah. Your leads count towards that.
Yes, but you're going to be past that level range long before you get there. So then you're coming back and doing this.
Well, if you're coming, I mean, when you're doing like your unspoiled node for the area, like when you're, you know, after you maxed out everything and you're trying to go get an item from an unspoiled node, all those count towards that achievement as well. So there's
That's true.
60 nodes.
5,000 unspoiled nodes.
I did it in about 3 weeks.
You did 5,000?
Yeah, because the thing about the unspoiled nodes, in Heaven's Word, see, unlike with A Realm Reborn, Heaven's Word and Stormblood nodes spawn differently. So Heaven's Word nodes, unspoiled nodes, spawn once every like hour and a half. Heaven's Word and Stormblood spawn twice in that time.
Oh, okay.
And when you get to a high enough level, which for ARR and Stormblood nodes or Heaven's Word nodes is level 64, you get this trait called endless toils, which basically, you know how like when you go to an unspoiled node, you have to guess where the item is or go look up where the item is. It just literally erases all of them. Like, oh, you gotta find the hidden node. Nope. It just shows you the hidden node. So you get 7 gathering attempts.
Huh.
So the higher level you are,
I can get 100 dark chestnut logs if Brian's not back. I'll go do some leaves. But we're gonna get 100 of these. Well, 99. Just sell a stack of 99. I think they actually stack higher than that now. They stack to 999. So we'll go till we have 100.
it stacks to 999, but you can only sell 99 at a time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then we'll just go till we have 99. Or close to 99. Like 97 would be fine. So I can get rid of it all on one listing. For a preposterous amount of money. Oh, I should do elm logs and silver prices? But those aren't going to give me experience, though, Immoral. Like, you said that yesterday, like, I agree with you that, like, yeah, there's certain resources like that that are going to make me a ton of money, but...
Get your retainers to gather them.
I've been sending my retainers out on the 18-hour ones for, like, over a year now. I just, instead of picking something, I just send them out to just... Because they get a ton of experience that way.
That's how I level mine, is just the 18-hour one until they're level capped, and then I send them out. Because I also equip them, like, I just get them to where they can do the level 18.
Yep.
And
What's
then,
going on, RQ?
as soon as they're level capped, I get them to the highest gear level I possibly can.
Yeah, I'd be willing to push their level up a little more. But right now, yeah, I just get their gathering over the minimum, and then send them on the 18.
I pretty much just send mine on quicks, because they have a chance of bringing back guys.
Bring back... Oh, dies?
Yeah, I've got a few Snow White and Slip Flag, sold those for about 500k.
Wow. They got me I got a fat cat minion this week. Those things sell for like 800 to 1.5. I used it, but still.
Once you you have to complete a story quest, and you'll get your retainers, and then you have to do a minor like quest in one of the city states. It'll be marked with a blue tag, and once you've completed that quest, you can have the ventures.
Is that the only way to get a fat cat, Ken? I don't know where it's supposed to drop from. Like, is that where all the fat cats come from? They're all from ventures? Alright, home stretch. I'm at 86 of these things.
Yep. Only way to get it.
Wow, that explains the value. Well, I'm glad I used mine then, because like I would have never found it. Thank you. It's very generous.
Waterside ventures, and it's only the Fisher ventures. It's only waterside exploration ventures.
Oh wow. Okay. Interesting. I'm glad I used it then. Aiden, getting after it. Well, thank you so much, man. All right. Aiden, you're too much, man. Head south here. Be able to go on ventures soon. Or, yeah, I think... I don't know. I would think that going and doing some, yeah, this will probably be the last node. I'll have to look up where, No, it doesn't mean more Fortnite today, guys. We got the podcast today. Podcast. Podcast trumps all. So podcast kind of sets the schedule for the day. So as soon as like if Brian comes back and says that we're doing the podcast right now, that'll be where we shift. We only do podcasts like once a month. So it's not a horribly common thing for us. Okay. I appreciate it, Aiden, but I'm not sure I'm gonna get to play any Fortnite today. I do appreciate the support. You getting ready for the podcast now, Brian? Perfect. What time are you thinking? I just kept harvesting. Okay, perfect. Then I'll just keep harvesting. No need. I was gonna go do. I was gonna go do the other things, but if he's almost ready, then we'll just keep harvesting. We can do it as 2 listings. The podcast could be Fortnite. I think we're actually talking about the, if I remember correctly, this is the one where we're talking about the state of MMOs. And then I have to go take care of, I have an errand I have to run after the podcast that shouldn't take me too long. Then I gotta come back and I have a couple of guides that I want to film, and I have 2 more that are filmed and they just haven't been edited, so I just need to get those out.
Any sneak peeks?
One of them is, I have actually the desynth we did a while back. Aiden, I really do appreciate it, but like I said, we're not going to play any Fortnite today. I just don't know if there's going to be time. And then I have a fishing part 3 that needs to come out, and then I have a guide on provisioning and supply missions, which is just really, I want to start doing these like really short beginner guides, just a couple of minutes talking about like a general topic, because when you say like what's the fastest way to level gathering, like people always want it to be like, oh, you just have to go talk to this tree here, and you just talk to this tree and he just gives it to you. Like they want it to be that simple, but it's not. Like this system is it's a question of like what you want from gathering. You know, like, do you want to make money while you gather? Do you just want to do like the shortest amount of playtime, but you're trying to get it in the fewest number of days? Do you want to do it all in one sitting? Because even then, like you're capped at you only have 100 things saved up to do the quests, leaves. You can only do 100 leaves, and then you're out until they recover. And you only get what, like 4 a day or 7 a day or something like that, or 4 every 4 hours or some goofiness. But effectively, like if you're trying to do it all in one day, you're stuck. And then would you rather just do supply and provisioning missions? Because from supply and provisioning mission standpoint, it's just a question of, do you have money and can you log in every day? Because if you have Gil and you can log in every day, you're all set. I see, Aiden. There we go. This is really fun with a controller sometimes too, or like on a Vita. Like it's very, very relaxing. It's even more relaxing down at the lower levels because you don't have to mount up if you're not worried about like being super efficient on time. Because one of the reasons I mount up is not just speed, but it's that I can fly over that big angry dude there. That's gonna just absolutely beat the crap out of my miner here. So you can just sprint like this, and you're all set. But sprint isn't good enough. I mean, you can stealth, but the walking's too slow. Time-worn map. I'm not worried about the map. I wonder if Brian thinks like 9 o'clock. That'd be 18 minutes. Usually we have more of a time schedule, but I don't know that this morning was that formal. Just because Chemistral's always hanging out, so he's always here. So it was kind of what is Brian doing as far as his work schedule. As opposed to like when we have Rob on who does Nintendo, like it's gonna be late at night, and so like we really need it to be really rigid. The problem with rigid is you rely on the technology working the first time, and it has to cut off early. As opposed to like Tamriel or Ethos, where it always runs long. Gosh, one of those was really long. One of those was like excessively long.
Still fun to watch though.
Alright, so my wife just bought our tickets to Romania for September.
Oh, congrats. How long of a stay is that?
We're going over for, I think, a week. My sister lives there.
Oh, cool. So have you been there before, I assume?
No. I've never been there. She has a house there, so we're going to go visit them. One of those things you should probably do if you have a sibling that lives somewhere you've never been. So, they've been there for a couple years, and we just haven't made the trip. So, I mean, it's not exactly in our neck of the woods. Like, takes quite a bit. I think I might actually have something planned special for tomorrow, Aiden. So if we play more Fortnite, it's probably next week. Still kind of working through the details, but I think I might have something special. We'll see. I've got a plan. And I think tomorrow's the day it all comes together. Trying to create variety. So we're trying to break out. I mean, I've been doing a lot of WoW and a lot of 14, but I enjoy playing other games, so I've been looking for good excuses to do so, and I think I found one. I also got to get another couple hours of Game Dev Tycoon, and I'd like to at least finish Work to Game 2 at some point. After you left, Chemistral, like, we became, like, crazy successful. Like, preposterous success. Like hundreds of millions of dollars. A huge team. Working on an R&D department.
Like, what was the game that pushed it over the sales?
So I was about to go broke, and I went into the hole, and I took a loan that had 100% interest rate to stipend the company over. While I made a Final Fantasy Infinite game, and we dumped all the money we could into it until the last phase of development, and then we cut all features because we were about to go broke, and it was preposterously successful, like $10 or $20 million. And then we came out with
just kind of last ditch effort.
Yeah, and then like the actual Final Fantasy, and then we made a. I'm lost. Where am I going?
That is a rumor. It was not true.
And then we made I made another game, and it was preposterously successful. And then I made another game, and it was preposterously successful. And then I started making sequels. So I made a sequel, and I've been doing those 3 games in cycle for like 4 generations now, and I just do those 3 games back to back to back, and I'm a PC developer only, and I build a new engine like every year or 2. It's awesome.
Nidhogg, please. I feel left out.
You feel left out? Of what?
Basically, there's these nail mechanics where you're half the party tethers to one, half the party tethered to the other. I didn't get a tether.
Oh.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning, Brian.
Hey, Sparta.
Are we getting ready for podcast at what? 9 o'clock?
shooting for that. I got I had a ticket come in that I'm looking into some error, and so, but I have it running over here on my computer. I hope it all works. As always, I always get a little nervous before podcasts because it's like, and then here's something that breaks or something like that. So let's see.
All right. $145, $146. Moral, our podcasts right now are just pushed to YouTube, and even when we used to film them over on Twitch, after the Twitch embargo that they ask you to do whenever you stream content to Twitch, we brought them over to YouTube so that they could live here permanently. We've talked about kind of going back and publishing them to things like SoundCloud and iTunes and all that. It's just not something that right now, the size of the podcast, the amount of interest in it, or the time it would take to set that up is worth it. But it's actually what our big Patreon goal is. So when we get up to 40 patrons, that's where Brian's kind of drawn the line that he's willing to push that over to SoundCloud and all of that.
That'd be great to work out and listen to that at the same time.
We were shooting for a number goal, but what we found was it ended up meaning that a few members of the community were pulling a ton of weight. And because of we want the podcast, I mean, the whole reason we do this channel is to interact with you guys. Like, the comment section is our favorite part of YouTube. And the way the app works with my ability to respond to comments on the go is, like, one of the number one things that makes me appreciative of YouTube. And so, like, we thought it's more about the number of people that want it than it is about the money. So we'd like it to be 40 people.
Right, because I think that sounds like a good number, especially when you look at the volume of people who sub, and it's not like
knowing that that's some percentage. Like the NPR and stuff releases a lot of their numbers, and they get their they get support from 0.7%. So before they used to release the numbers, it was 0.3% of listeners supported NPR. And then it moved to 0.7% when they started releasing those numbers. And then they made a big push a few years ago trying to get to 1%. And so if you think if 40 people's 1%, then that means that there's actually substantial interest in the podcast. So we should push that out to SoundCloud and all that. I don't know.
Yeah, because it does take a little bit more time on my part to get all that going.
Yeah, they're right here on this channel. Now, if you just like Final Fantasy podcasts, Final Fantasy specifically, Brian's actually a regular guest on Aether Radio, which is Gamer Escape's Final Fantasy XIV podcast.
Yeah, and we just did one this Saturday for them. And so that should be up on their YouTube channel. And I believe we have them linked as a part of kind of the channels.
Yeah, he's been on Aether Radio long before Work To Game was a thing. Brian's history with Final Fantasy related podcasts is long and sometimes bumpy.
Yeah, I ran one for a while. There's an old website, FFXIV Core. So when they announced 14 back at E3, me and Kevin, who you guys saw some last year a little bit on Twitch with us, we created a podcast. I was like, I'm always interested in podcasts. That's actually how we met Jelly and several people who've been, just become really good friends with. And so we did that, and then we ended up getting picked up by that website, and then the game failed, and then eventually, and the website was owned by Curse, and eventually they just decided to not do anything with 14. And so then I went over and I was like, all right. And then that's when I joined Aether Radio, because that's right around the time they were getting ready to reboot. So I've been talking about the 14 for a long time.
Hey, you didn't know about the Aether Radio podcast? That's amazing. They're one of the really big, they've been a part of the 14 community.
I knew Brian before I knew of Aether Radio, so when I first started listening to Aether Radio, I was not a 14 player. And when they introduced themselves at the beginning, I don't know if I've ever told you this, Brian, but when they introduced it at the beginning, if Brian wasn't on it, I just turned it off. It's like, well, That's the only reason I listen to this.
Well, thanks for the support, I guess.
Because you told me about it, I was like, well, I'll listen to Brian talk about games. I'm always interested in that. And so then, like, when it wasn't you, it took me a lot of listening to that podcast to develop enough of a, like, I don't know what you call that. Is it still called a relationship? Yeah, where, like, I wanted to know what the other people said, whether, because when I first got there, it's like, I've always appreciated Brian's outlook on games. And so if Brian wasn't going to be there, it's like, well, then what am I going to get from this? But I've actually grown to like some of the other personalities on there, and so now I'll listen to it even if there's no Bryn Zalzar.
All right, Chris, I'm gonna, I guess, go get myself some water, and then I'll be ready to test. Chemistry, are you ready to kind of test, etc.?
Yep.
Cool. So I'll be right back, and then what I'm gonna do is I'll fire up the Zoom. You guys
Are there
should
any
have
comments
the
I need to read?
for it. If not, we can obviously communicate over Discord until we get connected over Zoom. I'll need to do some camera setup, and then we'll do some pre-show, etc. So I'll be right back.
Are there comments I need to read or anything?
No, on you know, like kind of, this is more a little bit on the casual side.
Okay.
It's just it's so for everybody.
Our podcast is an ever-changing format.
Yeah, like we're working on it. We haven't had one in a little while. I was trying to get to where I was doing prep, but this has just kind of been a crazy busy work week for me. So, but the topic really hasn't changed. We originally were going to have Chemistry on to talk about Pokemon, but now what we're going to be, it's almost there might end up being a part 2 to this, where we do another podcast, in a couple weeks. But it's going to be talking about kind of the state of MMOs, almost kind of a concept of versus. So something for you guys to think about pre-show is. I'd like to know, as the general theme for this podcast is, Kemerstrol, you're going to represent Guild Wars 2, I'm going to represent 14, and I want Chris to represent WoW. And it's what 3 features would we want to take or we want to see in another game that we play. And so, like WoW, like what 3 things do we want from WoW in 14, or what 3 things do we want 14 in WoW or Guild Wars, and things like that. If that makes any kind of sense. That's essentially the general theme of the show. But we're going to kind of talk about, like, what we're playing and MMOs in general. So I'll be right back.
It's a lot different, Steve, than like Limit Break Radio and stuff. It's a very different pace. But and then it's a little more like State of the Realm. Theirs is. And I'm not familiar with Unchained. I don't know that we're gonna get any Fortnite. I don't think we're gonna get any Fortnite today. So the podcast starting at 9. I've got some errands I have to run after this, where I'm not playing games, and then I've got some videos that I need to get out. Because if I don't work on them today, that puts pressure on tomorrow if I want to have content for the weekend. And tomorrow, I think I just got an email that kind of confirms. I think I've got a plan for tomorrow, but I need to iron out the last few details.
Surprises, surprises.
I'm excited. It should be something all new.
Any idea, like, what might be going up tomorrow? Like in the afternoon, morning?
So tomorrow morning should still be Final Fantasy as usual, and then my 10 a.m. stream, and then maybe possibly an afternoon stream should be a lot different. And I'd like to be in a position where I can go live 3 times tomorrow. And I don't think there will be any WoW or Fortnite. I think there will just be 14 in the morning, and then something all new and different.
I'm glad I have tomorrow off. It means to get to stay up and try to see what's going to be.
Aetherite Radio. Should be spelled like Aetherite is in 14, however that is. I don't know if that's a Y or an AE or... you should be able to find it over on Gamerscape, so I'm sure you've used Gamerscape for things, because Gamerscape is kind of the be-all, end-all wiki for all things 14. Like, if outside of maybe fishing, I've never found a better resource than Gamer Escape.
Console Game Wiki. That's the other good one.
Gamer Escape, it's laid out nice, it's beautifully supported.
Yeah, I don't do that.
I think they do a great job. So, for something as big as fishing, like fishing in this game could be a whole thing in itself. Like, you could just play this game to fish, and you would never finish.
Just like you can play. That's one thing I liked about the game, like back at ARR. See, now it's a little bit different. Like in ARR, you could literally play this game, get one, and I mean you could still do it. Get one character to max level, one battle pass. So I think for a warrior or a healer, and then all you do is gather craft and craft, and you can literally just spend your entire day just gathering and crafting. And you can just do the same thing now. It's just it takes a longer time because you have to go through Realm Reborn, through Heavensward, and through Stormblood because they lock the areas behind actually doing story.
All right, so Brian should be back in a couple minutes. I'm gonna go stretch my legs. Okay, you're back. Perfect.
Go stretch your legs. Go stretch your legs. We'll be getting set up here.
Are you taking over?
Well, yeah, I guess I could. Let me go ahead.
You don't have to. I gotta list this stuff. I'm gonna list this stuff on the market real quick.
Okay, cool.
I farmed 200 of it today.
I'm gonna basically fire up the Zoom meeting and then
welcome
and
Amelia.
Then I can go. I'll be going live on Twitch just so we can test that out anyway. So yeah.
Oh, so you're not okay? So we're streaming to Twitch.
Yeah, we're gonna stream it to Twitch because then I can download it and edit out the beginning and then.
Okay.
I'm trying to cap this in an hour, so I mean, we keep saying that we're not so successful, but maybe today will be the day.
All right, well, guys, you heard it here. We are moving over to Twitch, so definitely be sure you go over there and check out Work to Game. Keep in mind, Work to Game on Twitch is the number 2. So I hope to see you guys all over there. We're gonna do 1250 right here. 123,000. Oh my gosh, if that sells. And then we're going to jump down and we're going to list the rest on a different retainer with an unrelated name.
Dark Chestnut Log, how much are you selling it for?
1250.
Dang. I mean, it comes down to the whole thing of why a Realm Reborn nodes and Heavensward nodes, you can sell them for so much that no one's gathering them anymore. They're gathering
240,000. Crazy. Oh man, how exciting! Very cool. Well, guys, we'll be over on Twitch. Should be Work to Game. Let me see if I can find a link for you. It should be in the description, I assume.
Already.
Yeah, it should be in the description. But just to show you how easy it is to find, should be Work to Game, Twitch. And then there's our lovely faces, and so you can click on that. Should be that easy. And Sparta already put the link in chat. So it's hosting Mr. Happy right now. Brian will be taking that down, and we'll be going live here in just a little bit. And then I'm gonna go stretch my legs and get some water. And I will be back for that. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I think today will probably be atypical. I don't know if I'll get a second stream in today at all because the podcast kind of takes that spot. And then tomorrow I have at least 2 streams, possibly 3. But the second and the possible third are going to be something you guys haven't seen before. So I'm gonna work on the details, assuming that comes together. I haven't checked the email yet, but I saw it come in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Thank you guys, and I will see you next time. Podcast!